After helping Abner secure another major deal, his friends invited him out to celebrate. At the private club, amidst the clinking of glasses, they couldn't help but express their envy over his capable and hardworking assistant. Amidst the flurry of compliments, someone suddenly asked, "Is Miss Leona still single? Could we be friends?" The question was blunt, and it caught me off guard. I looked up to see a handsome, refined face. Matthew stepped forward to introduce him. "This is my cousin, Nicky. He just returned from abroad last month." The others began teasing me, saying how well Nicky and I would match. I smiled and nodded at Nicky, then glanced at Abner, who merely gave me a passing look without any reaction. Everyone seemed to think I needed Abner's permission to date, and they chimed in, "This is your personal matter. You don't need to ask Abner." "Abner, are you stopping Miss Leona from dating?" Nicky swirled his glass lightly and added, "Perhaps Mr. Abner is reluctant to let her go?" Abner exhaled a puff of smoke and replied nonchalantly, "Nonsense. Miss Leona is indeed single. If you're interested, feel free to pursue her." He then glanced at his friends who were egging him on. I wouldn't want to be accused of being a cold-hearted boss who ruins my employees' chances at love. His words extinguished the last flicker of hope I had been holding on to. It felt like a wisp of smoke dissipating into thin air. He even shot me a warning look, as if expecting me to make a scene. I picked up my glass, took a sip, and smiled gently at Nicky. "I am indeed single. What do you think of Nicky?" Matthew seemed eager to play matchmaker. I studied Nicky's face carefully and nodded, "Handsome." The group erupted into cheers, urging us to get together. "Could I have your phone number?" Nicky asked, his lips curving into a slight smile, his cool eyes glinting with amusement. "Of course," I replied. After exchanging contacts, I raised my glass to Nicky, downed the drink, and excused myself, claiming I felt dizzy from the alcohol. I headed to Abner's apartment, a spacious penthouse in the city center where he had reserved a room for me. Officially, it was to better assist him as his assistant, always on call. But in reality, we had been in a secret relationship for 5 years. He never publicly acknowledged me. I knew the gap between us was vast, so I worked tirelessly to prove myself, becoming his right-hand woman at work and taking care of him in every way possible. Even his mother praised me endlessly. I thought if I worked hard enough, he would eventually announce our relationship to the world. But a month ago, I overheard him talking with his friends. Someone joked, "Still waiting for Olive to come back after all these years? You're something else." He sighed wistfully, "What can I do? There's only one Olive in this world. My heart only has room for her." Olive's name was familiar to me, though I had never met her. She had been abroad for years. They called her Abner's first love, the one he cherished but could never have. I thought it was just a joke, but it turned out to be true. Now that Olive is coming back, with her jealous nature, the women around you are in for a rough time. "Ah, I've spoiled her too much," Abner said with a mix of fondness and resignation. "What about Miss Leona? She's your assistant. You can't just fire her, can you?" "Her?" Abner paused, as if he had just remembered my existence. "Miss Leona is young and beautiful. Olive will tear her apart." He shrugged indifferently, "I'll just deal with her when the time comes. Honestly, your assistant is great. She's not inferior to Olive. You've been together every day. Don't you have any feelings for her?" Abner's face twisted into a sneer. "What are you talking about? Comparing Leona to Olive?" His words felt like a dagger to my heart, and I was numb with pain. I couldn't believe this was the man I had been with for 5 years. I had thought he kept our relationship secret due to family pressure, but the truth was simply that he didn't love me. Our relationship had started by accident. He had been drugged by a spiked drink and ran into me when I went back to retrieve some samples. The drug was potent, and I couldn't resist. When he sobered up and realized it was me, his face was filled with disappointment. "Why you? Did you have anything to do with this?" I was covered in bruises, both physically and emotionally shattered. I cried and shook my head. Reluctantly, he told me to stay by his side, his tone icy. "I don't want anyone to know about us. You'd better behave." 5 years hadn't been enough to warm his heart. I didn't want a man like that anymore. I packed my belongings, which didn't amount to much. A single suitcase was more than enough. Since overhearing that conversation, I had been gradually moving my things out. Only a few seasonal clothes and daily essentials remained. Late at night, I dragged my suitcase back to my own apartment. Perhaps it was the alcohol, but I fell into a deep sleep as soon as I lay down. I woke up at noon, tidied up, and leisurely made my way to the office. The atmosphere in the executive office was tense. Several secretaries stood nervously in the corner, and when they saw me, it was as if they had found a lifeline. "Leona, you're finally here," Phoebe whispered, grabbing my arm. "We couldn't reach you all morning. Mr. Abner is very upset." None of us dared to speak. As soon as she finished, Abner's office door opened. "You knew there was a meeting this morning. Why are you so late?" I walked into his office and gently closed the door behind me. "Mr. Abner, the resort project meeting only requires the heads of both parties. As an assistant, my presence isn't necessary. I had managed most of the company's major projects over the past 2 years, but this time I didn't want to be involved." His expression darkened when he realized I was distancing myself. "Aren't you the project lead? You're the CEO. How could I be the lead?" I shrugged. He sat in his chair, rubbing his temples. "Are you throwing a tantrum? Last night was just a joke. Besides, you seemed quite pleased with it." I chuckled lightly. "Mr. Nicky is indeed my type." I was pleased. "Thank you for introducing him to me. Enough of this. I have something to tell you. You're being transferred to the project department as director, fully responsible for the resort project." Abner thought I didn't know that Olive was returning next week. A few days ago, while fetching his phone, I saw a message from her. "I can't stand that assistant of yours. Get rid of her." This was his way of dealing with me, sending me to a remote project at this critical time. But I wasn't going to let him have his way. "I also have something to tell you. I quit." I pulled a resignation letter from my bag and placed it in front of him. "Sign it." He paused, picked up the letter with 2 fingers, glanced at it, and sneered, "You're resigning? Leona, don't try to threaten me. Last night was just a joke. Are you really going to make such a big deal out of it? Just a joke? Are you sure? Have you had enough? Resigning? Fine. The company doesn't revolve around you." He quickly signed the letter and tossed it back to me. Behind me, I heard Phoebe's voice. "Mr. Abner, is Leona really leaving?" "But the project." He replied calmly, "Ignore her. She's becoming more temperamental. She'll be back within a week, begging for forgiveness." Over the years, my achievements at the company were undeniable. Securing the resort project was the last thing I could do for him. As I walked out of the company building, I let out a long sigh and blocked all of Abner's contact information. I had finally repaid whatever debt I owed him. I hailed a taxi and headed straight to the airport. I didn't have a destination in mind, I just needed to get away. For over 5 years, my life had revolved around Abner. Apart from sleeping, I had no time for myself. I was exhausted. In the taxi, I booked the next available flight, which departed for City B in an hour and a half. It was a coastal tourist city, completely different from City A, with a warm and humid climate. I spent a relaxing week there. 2 days before returning to City A, I received a call from Salome, one of Abner's business partners. She happened to be vacationing in City B and, upon hearing about my resignation, insisted on meeting up. We arranged to meet at a seaside hotel. Salome's family had significant investments in the South, and half of City B's tourism industry was under her family's control. "Why did you resign? Did Abner mistreat you?" Salome didn't carry the airs of a wealthy heiress. She was straightforward yet thoughtful, the only one who had ever sensed that Abner and I were more than just boss and assistant. I took a sip of juice and smiled. "I'm tired. I could tell you were unhappy, but if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. You've been gone for a week. Has he reached out to you?" I shook my head. "We've gone our separate ways. There's no reason for him to contact me. Besides, his first love has returned." Olive's return had made headlines. Abner had personally gone to the airport with a group of friends to welcome her, making a grand spectacle. My disappearance at this time suited him perfectly. "Olive? She's quite something, but Abner is blind. He'll regret it," Salome said with a meaningful smile. "Let's talk about the future. What are your plans? Why not come work for me?" Name your terms. Salome had often joked about hiring me during our previous interactions. I felt a bit guilty about her generous offer and told her I hadn't made any decisions yet. She waved it off, no worries. Just think of me as a friend. She glanced at the beach nearby and urged me to go swimming. I admitted I couldn't swim. No problem. We have swimming coaches here. They're fit and charming, much more interesting than Abner. It's time you tried something new, she teased with a mischievous grin. As I changed into my swimsuit and prepared to head out, Salome's phone rang. She answered and stood up, waving toward the distance. Nikki, over here. Following her gaze, I saw a tall figure who looked somewhat familiar. What a coincidence. Nikki is also from City A. Let me introduce you. As he approached, I realized it was indeed Nikki. He didn't seem surprised to see me, and nodded. We meet again, Miss Leona. He was dressed in a suit, while I was in a bikini. The atmosphere felt awkward, so I quickly threw on a beach dress. What a coincidence, I said. It had only been a little over a month since he returned, yet we had crossed paths multiple times. The celebration for Abner's success wasn't our first meeting. I learned that Salome, Nikki, and Matthew were cousins. The rich only associated with the rich, such was the world. Seeing that we knew each other, Salome pushed me toward Nikki. I have a task for you. Leona can't swim. Teach her. With pleasure, Nikki replied. Sports have always been my weak spot, and I have no foundation in swimming. Nikki first taught me the easiest stroke, the breaststroke. After explaining the key points, we started practicing the basic movements, a breath and a kick. So, under his guidance, I practiced in the shallow water for over an hour. By the end, I was a bit tired and, in my exhaustion, I lost my balance and accidentally went under. I swallowed some water. He lifted me out of the water, and I lost my footing, crashing into him. In a panic, I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck. Our bodies pressed together. My upper body was completely against his, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. I could feel his warm breath on my neck. Leona. His voice was hoarse. I finally snapped back to reality and slid off of him, but I couldn't steady myself and fell backward. His long arms caught me, pulling me into his chest. My hands scrambled, and he let out a soft grunt. Once I was steady, I froze, staring at his bronzed chest, swallowing nervously. Looks like you're really thirsty. His voice held a teasing tone. I looked up and saw a smile playing at the corners of his lips. He was gazing down at me, his eyes gleaming with warmth. For a brief moment, I lost focus, caught in his gaze. His hand around my waist tightened, and then, without warning, he leaned down and kissed me. The kiss was gentle and long, and I could taste the cool mintiness of him on my lips. I don't know how long it lasted, but when he finally pulled away, he asked, "Can I be your boyfriend?" Nikki's voice was almost hypnotic. I gasped for air and pushed him away, but before I knew it, he had lifted me effortlessly in one arm and was walking toward the shore. Unconsciously, I tightened my grip around his neck. Salome had just crawled out of the water and caught sight of us. She immediately started snapping photos, walking closer with a teasing smile. This coach really does his job, huh? Carrying his students out of the water like that. My face turned red, and I struggled to escape from Nikki's embrace. He watched me with a soft smile, his eyes full of amusement. I've only ever taught you. Salome exaggeratedly sniffed the air, her gaze jumping back and forth between us. Why do I smell something flirty? At dinner, Salome received a video call from Abner, who insisted that I pick up. It turned out Salome had posted about our meetup on Instagram and shared a photo of Nikki and me. Back in City A, they were hosting an event for Olive's return at a hotel. They had already taken their seats, waiting for the guest of honor to arrive. Payne had seen the post on Salome's Instagram, noticed Nikki holding me, and showed it to everyone. Wait a second, isn't that Leona Nikki's holding? I was wondering where she disappeared to. Looks like she's busy dating. Matthew said proudly. Didn't I tell you? I knew they'd be perfect together from the moment I saw them. Of course, I have to thank Abner for finally letting his subordinate find a partner. While they were all chatting, Abner, who had been in a good mood earlier, suddenly darkened his expression and slammed his fist on the table. Enough with the noise. Everyone froze, confused, and after a pause, they started trying to console him. Leona hasn't been around the office lately, you must be exhausted, right? Don't get angry, once Nikki comes back, he and Leona will definitely thank you, Abner. She's in her prime years for love. She deserves a break. Who knows, maybe she'll be Nikki's wife soon. With her around, you can collaborate with Nikki for your company. It's a good thing. Enough. Hearing this, Abner became even more frustrated, sharply cutting them off. Matthew couldn't help but ask. What's going on? You were just fine earlier. Abner seemed to realize his outburst, paused, then sneered. Her? Nikki could never be interested in her. Matthew laughed and countered. You don't know, do you? Nikki's had his eye on Leona for a while. You think he suddenly came back to the country for nothing? If you've got a first love, I can see why you wouldn't think much of Leona, but we all think she's beautiful and capable. Exactly. I used to think you and Leona were a couple, so I never made a move. If I had known, I'd have gone for her first. Payne slapped his thigh and sighed. Shut up. Abner's face was as dark as a pot bottom now. They're never going to be together. Leona wouldn't want that. His tone was certain. Why not? She's already in love with someone else. She's stubborn, and she'll never end up with Nikki. Matthew scratched his head, still confused. But in the photos, they look so sweet together. It looks like they've already confirmed their relationship. I'll ask Nikki about it later. Abner's irritation only deepened as he saw his friend's questioning expressions. He pulled out his phone and started dialing, but every time, it said the line was busy. Leona won't answer your call? What's going on? Did you two have a fight? His expression began to show hints of panic as he switched to text and sent a message. But when the message was sent, it showed as blocked. She blocked me? He laughed in frustration, opening Salami's Instagram page. Staring at the photo of Nikki and me, his fists clenched tightly. Leona, Abner said he can't reach you, so he wants you to answer this video call. Salome handed me the phone, but I waved my hand, indicating I didn't want to. I have nothing to say to him. When you're completely tired of someone, you lose any desire to communicate. That's how I felt about Abner right now. As I spoke, Nikki placed a large shrimp he had just peeled onto my plate. This shrimp tastes great, try it. Salome pointed the camera at Nikki and me, then put her phone down after a moment, looking at Abner's face on the other side of the call with a helpless smile. You saw it. It's not that I'm not helping you, it's just that Leona doesn't want to talk. I can't force her. If you want something, tell me, and I'll pass it on. Huh. From the phone came Abner's familiar cold grunt. His voice wasn't loud, but it was firm. Tell Leona to pick up. Salome chuckled lightly. Then I guess you'll have to wait until Leona returns to City A to talk to her yourself. I'm not getting involved. With that, she hung up. A few minutes later, my phone rang. It was Matthew. When I answered, I saw Abner's face, and Matthew stood behind him, explaining. He took my phone. Having worked with Abner for over 5 years, I got along well with his friends. Since I'd be returning to City soon, there was no need to block them just because of Abner. Even if I hung up Matthew's phone, he'd use someone else's. Since I couldn't avoid it, I might as well see what he wanted so urgently. Alright, what is it? You need to come back to the office tomorrow. If not, don't think about returning ever again. He probably thought I was just venting when I talked about resigning. I thought I made it clear that I've already quit. At my words, his eyelids flickered slightly. His expression remained calm, but his brow furrowed. His gaze was cold, like he was trying to burn a hole through me. Abner usually controlled his emotions well, especially in public, and never lost his temper. Others praised him for being gentlemanly and approachable. After a long silence, he finally spoke. My family's taken care of you all these years, and this is how you repay us? And as for your relationship with Nikki, don't you think you should explain it to me? I smiled at him. Mr. Abner, you're no longer my boss. My personal matters aren't something I need to report to you, right? My personal matters? His voice still held no emotion, but he emphasized the words, and I could feel the storm brewing. He was genuinely angry now. But why should I care? Stop playing these childish games, Leona. Don't think that picking any random guy will get a rise out of me. Seeing that I remained indifferent, he exhaled a puff of smoke slowly. Don't tell me you've already fallen for Nikki after just a week? I didn't want to waste any more words on him and was about to end this unpleasant conversation. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up now. Who do you think you are for him to notice you? Are you that dumb? Just then, a girl appeared behind him. She was slim, with long hair cascading down her shoulders. She looked both pure and charming, her face radiating a naive innocence. She must be his first love, Olive. Olive's calm and gentle face made it hard not to like her. You'd want to be close to her, but unfortunately, I knew exactly what kind of person she was. She stepped behind Abner's chair, leaned down, and wrapped her arms around his neck. Abner, who are you video chatting with? Her voice was sweet. Abner turned his head and replied softly. Just a subordinate. The moment he saw Olive, he went out of his way to distance himself from me. She looked up at me and smiled. I know you. You're the poor girl that Abner's mom sponsored, right? I heard you had a falling out with him because you wouldn't leave his side? It's all my fault. I wanted to stay close to him and learn from him, so I had no choice but to make you the project director. Her voice was soft and innocent, but the pride and satisfaction in her eyes were hard to conceal. That's not true. My resignation was a well-thought-out decision. Ah, that's a shame. I thought we'd be working together at the company. She pouted, shaking Abner's arm playfully. Everyone says Leona's smart and capable. Why would she resign as soon as I show up? Does she have a problem with me? Your mom's been so nice to her, yet she's in such a hurry to leave his group. When I was in 8th grade, my parents passed away in a car accident, and I became an orphan. Shortly after, Abner's mother, who was involved in charity work, started sponsoring students in need. My homeroom teacher put my name forward. I was fortunate to receive her sponsorship and even had the honor of attending a reception as a representative of the impoverished students. At the meeting, she was pleased with my performance and asked if I'd like to work for her company in the future. I was deeply grateful to her, so of course, I nodded enthusiastically. From 8th grade to after the college entrance exams, she helped me with my living expenses, lifting all my worries. I've always remembered her kindness, which is why I humbly stayed by Abner's side for 5 years. I wonder if my mom ever regrets it. Abner chuckled coldly as he said this. He and Olive deliberately brought up the topic of my sponsorship in front of everyone, indirectly insinuating that I'm now resigning and distancing myself from Abner, painting me as an ungrateful person. I looked at Abner and said seriously. Your mom helped me when I was at my lowest, and I've always been grateful. That's why I've given my best at work. She sponsored me for 5 years, and I worked for the company for 5 years. How much I've contributed, what achievements I've made, everyone knows. Sometimes, in order to secure a project, I've worked day and night on research and proposals, even collapsing from exhaustion a few times. The total profit from the projects I've managed over the years has reached over 10 billion. If anyone insists on calculating how much I owe them, I've already repaid it long ago. But Abner didn't plan to give up. So, Leona, you're cutting ties with me now, are you? Heh, your family sponsors her for 5 years and expects her to work for you for the rest of her life? Nikki had been standing behind me for who knows how long. Hearing Abner's words, he walked over and took my phone from my hand. Shall we settle the score properly? Seeing Nikki, Abner's face darkened. They locked eyes for a moment before Abner suddenly smirked. This is between Leona and me. It doesn't concern Mr. Nikki. Mr. Nikki seems so concerned about my assistant, but she might not even be interested in you. You haven't confirmed your relationship, have you? Nikki glanced at me with a hint of grievance in his eyes. I hadn't agreed to him earlier, and I felt a bit guilty. I nervously started to scratch his palm, but he quickly held my hand. He smiled and said, That's because she wants to test me a little longer. And besides, she's already resigned. Please don't cling to her and force her to keep working for you. Abner's face darkened with anger. He mocked. She's just being stubborn. Once she calms down, she'll definitely come back to you. Also, she has someone else in her heart. Even with all your wealth, Nikki, you won't win her heart. Even if she agrees to be with you, it'll just be to use you. Nikki remained unruffled. If she wants to use me, I'm more than happy to cooperate. What I'm worried about is that someone might want to be used, but won't have the chance. After a long silence, Olive looked at Nikki, pointed at me, and questioned. How could you like someone like her? You don't even know her. If he doesn't like her, then does he like you? Nikki cut her off with a mocking tone. I told you already, go look in the mirror after you pee. Before she could respond, Nikki ended the video call and turned off my phone. After doing all this, he turned and scooped me up in his arms. Do you want to use me? I'll cooperate willingly. I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling both speechless and shy, asking him to put me down. Then you agree to be my girlfriend. I was stunned. It was happening so fast, and I wasn't sure how to react. He noticed my hesitation, set me down, and became serious. Don't you think we're really meant to be? The world is so big, full of so many people, and yet we always keep running into each other. Even when we came to be city, one right after the other, it must be fate. Nikki had been studying and starting a business abroad for many years, and he had only returned to the country 2 months ago. But even before his return, we had crossed paths multiple times. In my junior year of university, I went to Country C as an exchange student. During an off-campus activity, I met Nikki for the first time. I was there with a friend at a gathering, and he happened to be a friend of a friend. At that time, we only had a passing impression of each other. 3 years ago, I went to an industrial expo as a company representative, and his company was also an exhibitor. We ended up talking a lot due to industry-related topics. Later, when I traveled and did business research abroad, we kept running into each other, always sharing a knowing smile when we met. Small world. So, by the time I saw him again at Abner's celebration banquet, I was no longer surprised. If you think it's too fast, we can just define our relationship for now. The rest can develop slowly. Nikki reached out, pulling me into his embrace, his gaze soft and affectionate. Besides, we've known each other for quite a while now. I calculated it, it's been 7 years, Leona. Will you give me a chance? Even if you really want to use me, then use me. I'm more than willing. Looking at the sincere expression on his face, I felt warmth spread through my chest. I stood on my tiptoes and gently kissed his lips. I agree. I'll give you a chance. Really? His eyes sparkled with surprise. Without another word, he swept me off my feet and carried me out of the restaurant. By the time I came to my senses, he had already carried me into his room and placed me onto the couch. Let's continue. Huh? What? Before I could finish speaking, he leaned down, one hand supporting my waist, the other gripping the back of my head, pulling me in tightly. I stared at him blankly, my mind empty. His lips met mine, gently at first, then deepening. I forgot to think, forgot everything, and instinctively responded, my hands finding their way to his shoulders, pulling myself closer, tighter. The lights were off, and the room was eerily quiet. The only sounds in the vast space were our heartbeats and shallow, breathy sighs. Naturally, things progressed. When the light turned on, the couch was a mess, the cushions deeply indented in one spot. Nikki carried me to the backyard pool. Every suite in this hotel had its own little courtyard, each with a small pool. Do you still want to learn to swim? I quickly shook my head to refuse. My legs are sore. Oh, then shall we do something else? He leaned in, covering me. From a distance, the sounds of people laughing and playing could be heard, a gentle breeze rustling the trees, the sky sparkling with stars. 2 hanging lights near the corridor swayed lightly in the wind, casting moving shadows on the ground. The next morning, when I entered the dining room, Salome was already there, eyeing me with a playful, suggestive look. It seems like the coach did a great job. Just one day, and your complexion's already glowing. Stop teasing her. It took me forever to win her over. Salome shot Nikki an exasperated look. You're lucky. You two disappeared last night, leaving me all alone, like a lonely old woman. Then you come in here this morning, flaunting your relationship in front of me. Are you trying to rub it in that I'm still single? Nikki chuckled, teasing her back. So, how's that college guy you were dating? Should I bring him along to hang out? Salome had a thing for younger guys, especially those in their early 20s. She always said they hadn't entered the workforce yet, had little life pressure, and were less materialistic. They also had plenty of free time and knew how to flatter her. She just needed to invite them out for a meal, buy them some nice clothes, and they'd happily provide her emotional support. Don't even mention him. He graduated this year. According to her usual routine, when her boyfriends graduated and started working, she'd come up with some excuse to break up with them. He got into a company on his own, but when I said we should break up, he refused, even saying he wanted to earn money to support me. Can you believe it? So, have you two broken up? Salome never revealed her true identity in relationships. She never talked about her family or business and dressed in low-key brands, so people only thought she was a moderately successful woman in her career. Her current boyfriend was a computer science major who joined a top internet company in City C right after graduation. He didn't want to break up. Last night, he even transferred me his first month's salary, leaving himself with only 4,000 yuan for living expenses. She looked conflicted, her confusion mixed with a hint of sweetness. I could tell she was a little pleased by this, despite the complicated emotions she was feeling. Why not just follow your heart? If you like him, go find him. But I've been lying to him from the start. Everything's a lie, even my name and age. When she saw our shocked expressions, she seemed a bit guilty. I just wanted to have some fun. Never mind, I'll break up with him. Nikki chuckled lightly. When did you become so soft? Like you said, worst case scenario, you break up, and that's all. Salome turned to me, and I encouraged her. Go for it. Life's too short for regrets. She hesitated for a moment, then seemed to make up her mind. Okay, I'll go. This afternoon. After Salome left, Nikki and I stayed for another week. Under his close guidance, I finally learned a few swimming strokes and could swim decently. After we left City B, we didn't go back to City A immediately. Instead, we traveled abroad, taking a month to visit all the places where we had met. Actually, when I met you for the second time, you bumped into me while holding a bouquet of plum blossoms, and that moment I just fell for you. I asked for your contact info, and after I got back, I tried to find an opportunity to visit your school secretly, but my calls wouldn't go through. I asked around and found out that you had already gone back to your country. He smiled helplessly. I was in the middle of a crucial stage in my startup, so I gave up on the idea for a while. Years later, I ran into you again. By then, you were with Abner, right? I had to suppress my feelings again. I looked at him, puzzled. How did you know I was with him? He sighed softly. Leona, you can't hide love. We met at the expo, and I accidentally saw you on the phone. The way you looked and spoke, I could tell you were in love. Later, when I asked you who you were talking to, you said it was your boss, Abner. I touched my cheek and widened my eyes. Was it that obvious? You didn't eavesdrop, did you? Why is it that everyone else didn't notice, but you did? It's simple. I loved you too, so I was sensitive to everything about you. I thought I'd never get you in this lifetime. He reached out and held me. Until a couple of months ago, I was chatting with Matthew, and he casually mentioned that you and Abner were just boss and employee. Suddenly, I felt a pang of pity. You clearly cared for him so much, but he treated you like this. I decided then and there to do whatever it takes to win you over. So, you came back to the country just for me? When I looked at him skeptically, he took my hand. Don't doubt it. It was for you. Every time we met after I came back, I made it happen on purpose. When Nikki and I were kissing passionately on the street, a reporter snapped a photo of us, and it went viral on international social media. Foreign media outlets were all asking who this girl was. Marketing accounts quickly picked up the story and posted it on domestic social platforms. Our kissing photos flooded Weibo. The large headlines took up the most prominent spots. #Nikki. #Nikki's girlfriend. These two hashtags dominated the top of the trending list, and even though Nikki was still abroad, his popularity didn't seem to diminish. Rumors had always painted Nikki as distant and mysterious. After graduation, he didn't return to inherit his family's business. Instead, he started his own high-tech company without using any family resources, and the company was now worth over $100 billion. Despite his success, no gossip about his relationships had ever surfaced. In the reporter's photos, he was always surrounded by colleagues or business partners. Now everyone was guessing who I was. As soon as we landed in City A and walked out of the airport, a crowd of reporters rushed toward us, surrounding us. "Mr. Nicky, could you please introduce this young lady? Is she your girlfriend?" Just as the bodyguards were about to disperse the reporters, Nicky stopped them. He wrapped his arm around me and confidently walked up to the crowd. "Let me formally introduce her. This is my girlfriend, Leona. Do you two have any future plans together?" Nicky looked at me tenderly. Proposal, engagement, marriage, growing old together. This was the first time the media had seen such an open Nicky, and the reporters were buzzing with excitement, all speculating about my background. Someone quickly recognized me. "Wait, isn't this Leona from Abner's company?" "Yeah, I thought she looked familiar. This is the first time I've seen her wear such a bright color. Didn't recognize her at first. Back when I worked at the company, I was always the diligent, serious Leona, always dressed in dark professional attire. This was the first time I was in a light blue dress, with my hair in soft golden curls, appearing in front of the public. Did you take time off for this romance?" I took the microphone from the reporter and explained. "Actually, I've already resigned. But last time, Mr. Abner said you were just on leave." I didn't know Abner had announced that I was on leave. "Did you resign because of Olive?" "No, it's just that I have a new career plan." The day after I returned, Abner's mother, Stacy, said she hadn't seen me in ages and missed me. Since her birthday was coming up, she invited me to join the celebration. It's just a regular birthday, with a few of my close friends and some younger folks. You'll recognize most of them. I had always respected her and considered her family. Regarding my resignation, I had planned to explain it to her when the right moment came, so I picked out a gift and went alone. Nicky was supposed to come with me, but I stopped her. "I can handle this myself." She was just as gentle and kind as before. As soon as she saw me, she pulled me to her side, asking me to help welcome the guests. Her friends immediately teased me when they saw me. "Who is this?" "Stacy, when did you meet such a beautiful girl?" "I've never seen her before." Stacy pulled me over to introduce. "This is Leona, someone I helped back in the day. She's really grown into such a beauty, don't you think? Hard to recognize, right?" One of her friends eyed me carefully. "Are you keeping her around as a daughter-in-law?" Stacy glanced at me and replied. "That brat Abner is the only one who can't be controlled by anyone except Leona. I wouldn't trust anyone else as my daughter-in-law." She said this and had the servant call Abner over. Abner walked in with his head down, looking much more worn out than usual. As soon as Stacy saw him, she scolded. "Why aren't you over here apologizing to Leona? You nearly lost such a great daughter-in-law." The others gathered around and comforted me. "Leona, don't be mad. Men mature late. Now that Abner realizes his mistake, why don't you give him a second chance?" Abner, too, changed his usual attitude, silently standing by my side. They really are a perfect match. It feels like it's been over 10 years already. The first time I saw her, she was just this tiny, delicate girl. "You could hardly help but feel protective," Stacy said nostalgically, wiping away a tear. Her friends quickly comforted her. "Although she had a tough childhood, she met you, and you've treated her like your own daughter. Look at her now, beautiful, graceful, and standing next to Abner, they make the perfect couple." They all turned to look at me expectantly. I sighed and explained. Meeting Stacy has been a huge blessing in my life. Thanks to her financial support, I was able to attend college. But as for Abner, we're just friends. We both have other people in our lives, so I'm afraid I'll disappoint you." Stacy patted my hand gently. "He knows he was wrong. You can see how guilty he looks. Please give him a chance to make things right." Everyone else chimed in, saying men mature late and I should be more understanding. Abner looked downcast, his face pale. He quietly begged me. "Olive, I'll fix everything." I silently sighed in my heart. If I rejected him outright, I'd come off as heartless. I scanned the room. Aside from Stacy's friends and the younger generation, there was only me, Abner, and two of her friends' sons I hadn't met before, Payne and Matthew. Olive wasn't there. I pulled out my phone, took a few photos, and posted them on Instagram. Soon enough, Olive, dressed in a luxurious high-end dress, arrived at the scene. "Stacy, why didn't you invite me to your birthday? I feel embarrassed to show up without a gift." Stacy's face darkened as she looked at Abner. "Did you invite her?" Abner shook his head in confusion. Stacy lowered her voice. "You've caused this mess, now you handle it. Get her out of here. Are you not welcoming me? I remember when I was little, you were so fond of me. Now you don't like me anymore?" "I just remembered, it was when my family had power, and your company depended on us." Olive had returned because her family's funds had dried up, and they were on the brink of bankruptcy. They couldn't afford to maintain her extravagant lifestyle abroad. Her friends had all distanced themselves, and now she had realized that Abner was the only one who had remained loyal. Abner and his family were her last hope, so she'd been keeping an eye on my social media accounts, worried I might reconcile with him. I posted something on Instagram, and within half an hour, she showed up. Stacy smiled awkwardly. "Not at all, you're always welcome. Please, have a seat." Olive didn't hesitate and squeezed past me to sit next to Stacy. My phone rang just then, and I took the opportunity to make an excuse and leave early. Later, I heard that Olive had had a huge argument with Stacy, and Abner, drowning his sorrows in alcohol, ended up in the hospital. Stacy called me in tears, begging me to visit him. "Abner's in critical condition. He keeps calling your name, Leona. Please, come see him." When I picked up the phone, Nicky was right next to me, resting his arm around my shoulders. "Go ahead, I'll come with you." He didn't want me to carry the burden of being seen as heartless. On the way, I learned from Matthew that Abner had fought with Olive again that day. After a heavy drinking session, Abner had wanted to break up, and Olive had thrown a bottle at him. He was bleeding from his head, and there was blood coming out of his mouth. When Nicky and I arrived at the hospital, he had already come out of surgery. The doctor said that he was no longer in danger and had regained consciousness. He had a concussion and a deep cut on his head that required 8 stitches. Additionally, there was some serious stomach bleeding, and he would need long-term care. Abner insisted on seeing me. When I went in, his head was wrapped in bandages, and he looked exhausted. He was quietly lying there, almost like a soulless mummy. As soon as he saw me, a flicker of surprise appeared in his dull eyes, and he reached out to grab my hand. "Leona, I knew you wouldn't just leave me." I stepped back a little, pulling away from him. "Leona?" There was confusion in his gaze. "Stacy is really worried about you. I heard you were looking for me?" "I was wrong. Let's make up. Come back to me." I shook my head. "Sorry, I'm already with someone I love very much." I glanced towards the door, where Nicky was leaning against the wall, looking straight at me. "It's impossible. I don't believe it. You're just pretending, right? It has to be that way. Leona, you're just getting back at me, aren't you?" His emotions suddenly escalated, and he grabbed my hand, pulling me towards him. The people standing outside heard the commotion and rushed in. When Abner saw Nicky, he became even more agitated, pointing at him and asking me, "You don't love him, right? You two are just putting on an act, aren't you? I know you love me. You're my girlfriend, and I won't let you be with another man." Matthew and Payne were completely confused. "Are you out of your mind? Your girlfriend is Olive, and Leona is Nicky's girlfriend. Didn't you introduce Leona to him as his girlfriend? Have you forgotten?" Abner's face instantly turned pale, and he shook his head, shouting, No, you don't know. Leona and I were in a relationship for 5 whole years." Matthew was speechless. "How is that possible? Have you lost your mind? You two were co-workers for 5 years, not in a relationship for 5 years. Also, Leona is Nicky's girlfriend now, and they're about to get engaged. Don't say things like that. I'm not wrong. You don't know the truth." Matthew, seeing that Abner wouldn't believe him, took out an invitation. Abner looked at the invitation and suddenly burst into laughter. "Marriage? Leona, you haven't broken up with me and now you're marrying another man? How could you do this to me?" His grip on his wrist tightened, and Nicky rushed over, prying his fingers off. I rubbed my sore wrist, feeling confused. Mr. Abner, I don't understand what you're saying. Did we ever date? I looked at the others, and Payne sighed. His brain probably hasn't fully recovered yet. Haha, we never dated? Abner smiled bitterly. As he kept laughing, tears suddenly fell from his eyes. Yeah, it's my own fault. After that, Abner faded out of my life. I heard that he often went to the hospital for rehabilitation. As for Olive, I heard they had completely broken up. Her family went bankrupt, owing a huge sum to the bank. They took everything, her house, her car, her luxury items, and Olive left the city with only a few belongings. No one knows where she went. On our wedding day, he sent over a green jade bracelet. I clearly remember that this bracelet was a family heirloom from his side. I had seen it in his safe once, and though I didn't understand the value of jade, I thought it looked nice and picked it up. He snatched it away from me immediately. Don't touch it. If you break it, you won't be able to pay for it. I'll give it to my wife someday. His protective glare was something I could never forget. Salome came to the wedding with her new boyfriend. When she saw the bracelet, she sighed and said, "Now he's being generous, but what's the point?" When Nicky found out the bracelet was from Abner, he playfully demanded I return it immediately. "I'll buy you whatever you want, but don't accept gifts from him." I smiled, placed the bracelet back in its box, and returned it to the person who had brought it. "I appreciate the gesture, but it's too valuable. I can't accept it." After the wedding, while seeing the guests off, I saw a lonely figure standing in the distance. It looked like him, but I didn't pay much attention. What's in the past should stay in the past. I have someone far more worth cherishing now. There's a brighter future ahead of me. The end.